Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to our Lunch and Learn. Thanks for joining us. My name is Stephanie Singer. I'm with the Nature Conservancy, and I'm excited to be here today. We have Erin Payne also and Jesse Womack who will be helping us. Right now we have everyone on mute, but we want you to know that if you have any questions, please feel free to type them in chat, or at the end of this presentation, we'll have time where you can come off mute and ask them. And same for those of you who are streaming or who are watching this on Facebook, please type your questions into the chat box and we'll have someone here. Jesse will be bringing them to our presenters to make sure we get those questions answered. Hey, so without further ado, I'd like to introduce our speakers today. We're really excited to have two of our great partners from Putnam Soil and Water and Paulding Soil and Water. We have Jeff Giesecke and Patrick Troyer. They are both district technicians there, and they're going to be telling us about the opportunity that their soil and water conservation districts provide to use their variable rate or their fertilizer placement equipment. So I'll turn it over to you. Jeff, are you gonna start?
You want me to go first? I thought I can go first. That's fine. Or Patrick.
Oh, I think Patrick is going first.
Okay.
Patrick, you're on mute.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Patrick Troyer. I'm district technician with the Paulding Soil and Water Conservation District. So I'm just going to do a quick overview of the fertilizer application program that is available through our office, go through kind of the benefits of doing the program with us, how you get involved, and answer any questions that you may have regarding the program. So just a quick overview of the program. So the equipment that we have is a John Deere 2510H applicator. The program is open to anyone in Paulding County, Defiance County, or Van Wert County. So it's not exclusive to Paulding County acres. So the reason that we leave Putnam out is obviously they have their own program and their own equipment, so we don't want to step on their toes. So the application fee, we do charge a $6 per acre fee. This includes both the fuel and the operator for the equipment. And then the fertilizer is on the producer as well. The equipment is operated by soil and water staff, so you don't have to worry about operating yourself. You contract us to do it for you. So a little bit on our equipment. So again, we have a 2510H John Deere nutrient toolbar. It is 40 foot wide on 30-inch spacing. So perfect for those corn acres, but not to say that it can't happen on other acres as well, your bean ground. It can hold up to 6 ton worth of fertilizer. It is a single product bin. So with part of this program, we do need a prescription from the ag retailer. I'll get into that in a little bit. So you can do a blend with our equipment. Just the prescription would need to be wrote for a single product bin. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The equipment places the fertilizer and below the soil surface about 4.5 inches. We can cover quite a bit of ground depending on the conditions of the field. About the fastest that we could go is about 10 miles an hour on more of your bean stubble or unworked ground. Whereas if it's worked down really fine and it's soft, of course, that's going to slow us down just a little bit. As far as the tractor goes, it is an 8330 John Deere. We do have auto steer capabilities. So if you already have AB lines set in your field, and you use Green Star, we can go off of your same lines, but if you don't, not a big deal. We will just make our own when we get to the field. And here's a couple pictures of the equipment with the toolbar folded up and then folded down. So the first question everybody has is, how do I take part in this program? So first thing is contact our office, either by phone, or you can send us an email as well. And we ask that you give us the following information to start out. We ask that you give us an idea of the approximate acres that you would like to have covered, and then also the time frame that you are looking at. So whether you are doing a pre-plant in the spring after wheat, or a fall application, just so that for scheduling purposes, that we can kind of coordinate all of that. And then we will give you just a little bit of homework to follow up with. So like I said, we do need a prescription. We don't have the capability of doing that here at our office, so that will have to come from your ag retailer or CCA, whichever it is that you use. So they will write the prescription up. It can be VRT, it can just be a blanket rate. But again, it needs to be written for a single product bin. So you can do a blend of MAP and DAP or whatnot if you want, but they just need to write that as a blend, not that the MAP is in one box and that the DAP is in another. So that's one thing to keep in mind. We ask that it is on 2.5 acre grids, the soil samples that were taken, or in zones of 10 acres. And then we ask that you coordinate with your ag retailer to let them know to get the fertilizer arranged. And then we'll ask you also to provide us with field maps and then specific locations that you are going to have the fertilizer applied. We do have an agreement as well that is pictured there on the right-hand side that we will have you sign as well, that you are agreeing to the terms. So we ask that your soil tests are 3 years old or less, again, on those grids of 2.5 acres or 10 acre zones. You also will provide us with the subscription. So that subscription or prescription can be provided to us either on a flash drive or other way that you can get that to us from the ag retailer. Then you agree to the $6 an acre application fee, and then that you will purchase and have the fertilizer delivered to the field. So we don't have the ability to deliver the fertilizer. That is something that we ask that you arrange with the ag retailer, so that we can coordinate that when we get to the field, that ag retailer is there with the fertilizer that we can load into the equipment. So then you're also saying that you agree that this is for demonstration and educational purposes, and that you will not hold the Soil and Water or Paulding County responsible for any damages or anything like that. So we'll have that signed before we go through and do the formal, before we do any field work. So we maintain a job list based on a first come, first served basis. So if you're the first ones to contact us, of course, you're going to be the first ones that we will get to. Or if we get to the point where we're getting some wet conditions, that one area is drier than another or more fit, we will obviously have to go after those fields that we can get to and then push off the fields that we cannot. So we will, as we're working through our list, we will make contact with you with a approximate date that we are looking at to do the application. And then we ask that you contact the ag retailer to have them arrange for the fertilizer. So we'll give you the date and the time that will be there so that we can coordinate the delivery portion. And then just then give us a call back after you've mentioned it to the ag retailer that you, just to confirm when they're going to have the fertilizer there. And of course, where you would like to have that loaded, whether it's on the roadside or if there's a grass lot or whatnot that you have we'll coordinate that. So that prescription that your ag retailer writes, we will load that up ahead of time before we get to the field, or we'll do it when we are at the field, whichever comes first. So we will arrive with the equipment, work with the delivery driver to get the fertilizer loaded, and we will get applying. So the fertilizer is applied according to that prescription that is provided to us from the retailer. So following the application, we will have an as-applied map that will be kept on file in our office and provided to you. So an example of that is provided here on the right-hand side. So it will show us, according to that prescription, how much fertilizer got applied in each specific area of the field. It will be shaded just like this, so you can see what ranges that we were in. And then on there at the bottom, you can see it'll show the average pounds per acre that were applied, the average speed, and then also how much ground was covered. So then we'll provide that to you. We'll also have a copy here in our office. We will then bill you for the application fee. So that's that $6 an acre fee. And then of course the ag retailer will bill you separately for the actual fertilizer itself. So of course, many ask, well, with H2O Ohio going on, is there any applicability with your equipment that we can use it for that? Yes, the answer to that is yes. So we do have the ability to VRT, and then of course we are already doing the subsurface phosphorus applications. So those two payments do qualify if you utilize our equipment. So just as a reminder, that subsurface pays $30 an acre on the as applied acres that the phosphorus was covered, and then the VRT portion is $8 per acre. So you get $38 minus the $6 that we charged, and at the end of the day you get $32 for doing both the subsurface and the VRT. So you are able to do that if you are signed up with us in H2 Ohio. Here's just a short of our equipment out in the field. So this was a field we did just east of Antwerp along the Maumee River. This was actually the first day that we got it out. So the gentleman walking behind the tractor is one of our board members that he allowed us to do it on his field. So we did it on, it was a prevent plant field actually. So that it worked out pretty good that with the field not being worked, we were able to cover a lot of ground, and it was nice that he allowed us to do that on our first trial to work out any kinks that we had. So other than that, everything has gone really well for us once we kind of worked out all the bells and whistles with the operation. So then the last point is, all right, many are going to ask, what do I get out of doing this program? So, the first thing that you're gonna get is that you're putting the nutrients in the right area where they're going to be utilized. Whereas if you're doing a broadcast application, there's always that potential for runoff to occur. So by putting those nutrients right in the ground, you're putting them where they're actually going to be used by the plants. And then on the other side, that you are doing the VRT portion, and you have that prescription, you're applying according to that. You're using the right amount of fertilizer that you need, not only with the environmental benefits tied to that, but also saving money of fertilizer that you did not have to purchase in excess. And of course, by doing it subsurface, you're also reducing that soil disturbance, also helping with the reduction of those nutrients. So if there's any questions regarding our program, here is my contact information. Either can call me here at the office, 399-4771, or my cell phone is 670-4499, or you can also email me at patrick.troyer@paulding.swcd.org. And that concludes my section.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. Like we said before, we will take any questions in the chat. You can type those if you'd like now, and we'll ask those at the end. And at the end, you'll have a chance to ask Patrick and Jeff both some questions. Right now, we'll move into Jeff Giesege's portion of the program. So I'd like to introduce Jeff and let him get started. Go ahead, Jeff.
All right. Thank you, Stephanie. Appreciate it. Appreciate everyone's time here this afternoon. I'm going to have a PowerPoint presentation just like Patrick had there. There we go. So that is our equipment. Same type of funding source that Patrick's equipment was purchased by. So what you see there is a Salford Pathfinder cart. That's the fertilizer cart. It's a 10-ton cart. It's split 60-40. So there's 6-ton and 4-ton bin there. And then the Valmar box in front of that, it's a 60-50 or 60-65, I think, or 60-56. That's for our cover crop or micronutrients if a grower wants to put those down. The toolbar, we'll go over that in detail in a little bit, is in front there. It's a 30-foot toolbar. And then the tractor in front, Case IH, we're working with them. Here in Ottawa, we have a Redline dealership, and we are leasing the tractor from Case IH. So everything behind the tractor we purchased with the grant money, and every year we get a new tractor then from Redline. So that one happens to be a 250. The one that's a picture from last year. The one we have this year is a 280, but very similar. So as Patrick said, H2 Ohio acres that we cover with this piece of equipment, we will charge producers for that. The reason being that this equipment was purchased through a grant, and H2 Ohio is a grant also, so we cannot double dip, so to speak. So if you have H2 Ohio acres, we're going to have to cover that. We're going to have to charge you for that. If the acres are not in H2 Ohio, then we can go ahead and free application. So the application would be free in that instance, both the fertilizer and the cover crop. So you can put fertilizer, two products, variable rate, both of those products. So your MAP or your DAP or your potash can both be variable rated. And then the cover crop, we can also put cover crop down at the same time on the same pass. So that slide that you see there is the actual row unit themselves. It's a Dawn Biologic row unit. It's called their Duo Seed unit. So basically that unit is a double disc opener, similar to like an air seeder or a grain drill. And then behind that, that's a packing wheel there. And then that packing wheel will be adjusted up and down to adjust your depth. So typically we're trying to put our fertilizer in at 2.5 to 3 inches deep. And then cover crops are depending ½ inch or an inch deep, depending on the cover crop that we're seeding. But those will be every 10 inches. So each one of those disc openers, those double disc openers across our 30-foot toolbar is spaced out every 10 inches. So if we go to the next slide, I can explain more in detail. So the bottom lower left there, you can see a close-up of what that cart looks like, the two bins for the fertilizer in the back there, and then the cover crop seeder, the bin up front. That's a Salford Pathfinder. So what's nice about that cart is as you turn, the tractor turns, those wheels, the axle will turn in the row. So you can follow, say you want to interseed corn or something like that with cover crops and then put on your urea or something like that for your nitrogen source. That cart will follow within the rows behind the tractor. So that's a nice feature there. The right-hand picture there, it's a Demco toolbar, and the office worked with Paul Martin and Sons in Napoleon to put that toolbar together. And you can see the row units there. And then I had already mentioned the tractor. We're working with Redline and Case IH on that tractor. We have the typical WASP guidance system from from Case IH, so it's a 6 to 12 inch accuracy. You can go pay the extra money and go to a sub-inch accuracy with the RTK guidance system. We just use the typical 12 to 6 inch guidance. So that presents a bit of a problem for those producers who want to plant on those fertilizer strips. With the system we have now, we're not able to do that because of the accuracy just isn't there. But as you'll see in some other the next slides moving forward, there are some interesting and unique ways guys have gotten around that. This next slide is a dual bin gravity wagon. So what we have there, we ran into a situation last year where I had the co-op brought out fertilizer, but it was more than 10 tons. So basically they filled up our applicator, and then the balance of the fertilizer went in that dual bin hopper wagon. So we could segregate the potash in the MAP and keep it in there. And then as I apply, I can top off the fertilizer with that wagon. It also worked well for cover crops. So we had several situations last year where we went and picked up the cover crop seed and put it in that wagon. And then the fertilizer dealer brought out the fertilizer and dumped it into our cart. And that worked out well too. So having that wagon is handy. The next slide, what you'll see on the next slide there is going to be a close-up of the toolbar itself. So the left-hand picture there is what it's going to look like from behind, and you can see it's a busy toolbar. So each one of those duo seed units are at 10-inch spacing, like I mentioned. And then the bottom right picture there is just an overhead look. And the next slide there, I'll show you how we apply the fertilizer and the cover crop there. So that's what it's going to look like. So we have fertilizer every 30 inches across the toolbar. So we have 12 rows of fertilizer at 30-inch centers, and then cover crops between each one of those rows. So there's 2 rows of cover crops or your micronutrients or what have you in between the 30-inch rows of fertilizer. And the next slide is going to show you what that looks like. So we had a producer who had a wheat crop, harvested his wheat. He had the fertilizer dealer apply the lime. He worked it in, and then he had me come in mid to late September, September 20th there, and apply the fertilizer and plant a cover crop. Now those are oats. So I mentioned before, we don't have the sub-inch accuracy for the RTK for producers who want to just plant right on our fertilizer rows. But what this gentleman did, he planted oats, and he plans to go in there and plant corn. So this spring, he went in there and planted his corn, and he's going to drive on the oats. Now the oats are going to winter kill for him. This past winter, they winter killed. He planted his corn. He drove on the oat rows, and then he planted his corn then on the fertilizer rows. So that was his guidance system, if you will. So it worked out for him, and I thought that was a unique, innovative way to make sure that he was planting on his fertilizer rows. So next slide, please. This is going to be a short drone video of me applying last year. So as you see that piece of equipment coming to you, I am applying in the strip that hasn't been applied on yet. So I've applied on either side, and then I'm making the last pass there coming back to you. This was soybeans, and the producer worked down the soybean stubble. And then last fall, I applied the fertilizer then on the work soybean stubble. This one happened, this one did not have any cover crop in this particular application. The 280, the Case 280 this year is set up very similar to the Case 250 from last year. That happens to be a 250 had the CVT transmission, so the constantly variable transmission from Case IH. This year, the 280 is a power shift. Not that it really makes a difference to us. The next slide is going to be what we're after. So as Patrick mentioned, they're doing a variable rate application, and obviously so are we. And we're going to need that prescription from the producer's CCA or their fertilizer dealer. So on the left-hand side is the application file. So that's what our application map should look like. That's the prescription on the left. The red area is a 0 rate of fertilizer. And then on the right side, that's our actual as applied map. So we provide an as applied map to each grower so that they can see where the fertilizer was applied. And then also with that, there's how much fertilizer was applied. So we're very confident in the application variable rate equipment that we have. So that application file matches pretty well with the prescription file. And then what I do is I get the application, the prescription file from the retailer in a shape file, and I plug that into our equipment in the tractor. When I apply the fertilizer, then I take that as applied map, download it or upload it into my flash drive, and then bring that to the retailer or just email them the file of the as applied map. So that's how we keep the records moving back and forth. The next slide there, please. So what we did last year, the idea with the grant that we had was to apply 3,000 acres of variable rate fertilizer over the 3 years of a grant. It's a 3-year grant. So we were shooting for 1,000 to 1,100 acres a year. And last year, the late winter of 18, I had about 1,200 acres spoken for. So we all know what happened in the spring of 2019. As that spring progressed, we went from plan A to plan B to plan C, and some of us were working off plan D actually on our planting plan. So as you can imagine, the producers really didn't want another piece of equipment, another operation on their farm, which is completely understandable. So a lot of those acres that we had spoken for dropped off. But we were able to accomplish 444 acres of fertilizer applied. We worked with 7 different producers. Out of the 444 acres, about 180 of those acres were cover crop acres, so that the producer had us apply a cover crop as we were applying the fertilizer. So we see a benefit in that, combining operations with one pass. So that was about 40% of those acres had cover crops on them. We're really looking forward to this year of trying to get across some more wheat acres, have an opportunity to get some cover crop out there, some different blends of cover crop with the fertilizer application. The next slide, please. So looking forward to 2020, I mentioned the free application. So we're going to do a free application again this year, cover crop and fertilizer for the acres that are not in the H2 Ohio program. And then, like I'd mentioned before, $15 an acre for acres that are signed up in the H2 Ohio program. And like in the situation as Paulding County, we're trying to stay out of Paulding County as well because of their similar grant, but we will do acres in surrounding counties. I'm in Ottawa, Ohio. I won't be driving to Findlay, but for example, if we had some acres in Hancock County to the east of us, we would go a few miles into Hancock County or some of the other surrounding counties to apply. So we're not strictly applying on acres in Putnam County. We would go outside the county as well. Same situation as Patrick has. Next slide, please. And those are the fertilizer management and the improvement of water quality. Those are the same things that Patrick mentioned. We like the pattern soil sampling, the grid or zone sampling, the nutrients being applied where they're needed, in the amounts that they're needed. And then the subsurface placement, there's definitely a correlation between nutrient runoff and the application method, whether it's applied on the soil surface or the fertilizer is worked into the soil. And then here in Putnam County, our Soil and Water Board thought that the cover crop option was very important also, and obviously to some growers too, that 40% of those acres that I applied fertilizer on had cover crop on them. So that cover crop tends to be another operation that we can check off the list as we apply the fertilizer. So we see a benefit there. That's what we're calling the icing on the cake. We get our cover crop established at the same time we're applying those nutrients. And I think the last slide I have for you there is my contact information. So there's our phone number. And I was applying last year with the equipment. We're going to have another technician this year apply, his Spencer Dre. Both of our information, our emails there are listed. So if you have any questions, give us a call. We can, the sign up process is similar to what they're doing in Paulding County. Give us a call and we can meet with you and go over which farms, which acres you want application. So I get at that, I'll turn it over for questions.
Okay, thanks so much, Jeff and Patrick. Both of you guys did a really great presentation. Right now, if you are in our Zoom meeting, if you'd like to come off of mute and ask a question live, you are welcome to do that. We'll also allow you to type the questions in chat, either in Zoom or on Facebook, and we'll ask them to our presenters if you have one. And while we're waiting for people to ask their questions, I'd just like to let everyone know that we will be having, it will pop up here sometime before this end of the Zoom call, we'll have a poll for our July Lunch and Learns. We'd like to know what topics you are interested in hearing. And there'll also be in the chat box and in an email sent to you later a evaluation so you could let us know and give us feedback about this program. So anyone who would like to ask a question, please take yourself off mute or type it in chat. I have a question that was sent to me, and the question is, how has the response been from farmers? And I think it's in relation to signing up for the open times that you have. So how far ahead do they need to reserve their acres to get on your list?
You want me to take it first?
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Okay. There's no, I guess there's no wait. If you have acres that you're interested in having us apply on, go ahead and contact us right away. We're signing up acres right now. We can go ahead and take soybean acres or wheat acres if you have something that's that you want done this summer. We can do that right after wheat harvest. And then also we're interested in getting some of those acres that will be in soybean stubble for the next year's corn crop. So I guess we don't have a waiting list, so to speak, right now. So we will work with your retailer, like I said before. So you will have to do a little homework ahead of time. So we need some grid or soil samples done ahead of time so that your retailer can write that prescription for you. But it's a very short turnaround. Once we get that prescription in hand, we can go right out and apply. And we'll work with your retailer on getting coordinating the fertilizer delivery and or cover crop also.
Yeah, and same thing in Paulding County. Not really a wait at the moment. So as soon as you think that, hey, I want to do some acres, just give us a call or send us an email, and we will work with you to get you enrolled.
Okay, thanks. So we still do have, we're going to stay on a little while longer and take more questions if someone has one. But while we're doing that, you're going to see a poll pop up on your screen here. And if you can please let us know what topics you'd like to see our future Lunch and Learns cover. We appreciate your input. While people are filling that out, I have another question here for Jeff and Patrick. What size do the grids and zones need to be?
Well, we really don't have a requirement for us. Typically, they're going to be small enough so you get a good prescription. So your retailer is going to be able to direct you in that regard on what size they want to take those samples in, so that they can give you a good prescription. Obviously, a 10-acre sample might not be the best, but we really don't have any restrictions. Now, I know there are some restrictions in the H2 Ohio program if you're in that program, but as far as the free application for us, we just need a good prescription. So that would be up to your retailer on how small they want those zones or those grids to be.
And for ours, that we prefer the 2.5 acre grids or the 10-acre zones. But again, if it's something that is being covered under H2 Ohio, it will follow those guidelines, which is the little bit different on that as far as that goes.
Okay, so thanks for everyone who took part in the poll. It looks like Grass Waterways was one of the most popular ones, but we also have quite a few other ones as far as cover crops and planting greens. So we're excited for our July Lunch and Learn series to be bringing you those topics. Right now, I don't see any other questions coming in through the chat or through Facebook. So I think we will wrap up. You'll see a link to another evaluation come up in the chat, and this will be available on our Facebook group page if you'd like to view this, or if you'd like to refer to it later or refer someone to it. So thanks everyone for participating. We really appreciate that both of our presenters taking the time to share this opportunity with everyone, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.